Technology, diversity, wine, the redwoods, and everything in between. Welcome to the Northern California Bay Area, and one show takes you inside the real estate that makes it all happen. This is By the Bay.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of By the Bay. I'm your host, Dan Anchetta, and I really appreciate you being here for our weekly podcast focusing on San Francisco Bay Area real estate. And if you would please take a moment to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you're wherever you're watching this, appreciate you leaving us a review. Helps other people find the show and growing our audience. And today I am very fortunate to have two absolutely amazing real estate professionals that are based here in Petaluma, California, where I am. Jenny Watson and Jennifer Aument are here from Sold by J&J team that is part of Vanguard Real Estate here in Petaluma. So welcome. Thank you for being on the show. We've been kind of circling around this for a while now, and I'm glad that we're able to get all together and be in the studio. So why don't you introduce yourself to the audience, and then I have like a great topic about branding and being true to yourself through your brand and how that attracts the right type of partners and clients, that sort of thing. But first, tell us who you are and how we got to be a team.
So my name is Jenny Watson. I have been a real estate agent for almost 10 years now. From Marin County, now live in Petaluma. My two kids and my husband. Jen and I partnered 5 years ago now, and it's been the best decision we've ever made.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you guys were working with the same brokerage at the time and then just kind of happened to say, hey, we should support each other.
Yeah, so I'm Jennifer Aument, and I'm from Petaluma, and yeah, we met when we were both working at Century 21 Venison.
Nice.
I had been there since 2005, and my business was growing to a point where I felt like I really would love to take on a partner, and I knew Jenny from being there and watching her work and just seeing who she was as a person. I felt like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing, and so approached her, and that was kind of history.
That's cool. Yeah, I love the team aspect we were talking before, like just really making sure real estate is all encompassing. It takes over your entire life, right? And so if you can't disconnect, you burn out at a certain point. So you have to have some type of release and like a release valve. And typically that's a team. And we're seeing these teams of people that are just able to do way, way more collectively than two individuals because they're able to support each other and give each other breaks. And you're saying that you're going to go on vacation and actually like forward your calls and stuff. That's a dream.
A total dream. Like I was saying, I've spent so many of my vacations, pretty much all of them, tied to my phone or my laptop. And so my kid is off going to the beach and I'm like, oh, I'll see you guys later. I have, 5 escrows I'm working on now. So yeah, it's really great. We can both be with our families and spend the important time that we need to spend.
That's amazing. So give us a kind of look into what your business looks like in terms of transactions and types of customers and types of types of clients that you work with and types of properties that you're representing. And is there a trend or a theme that you're seeing in those in that book of business?
Yeah, I mean, we work in Marin County and Sonoma County exclusively. Okay. I would say since we both are, I live in Petaluma now, Jen's from Petaluma, a big part of our business is here, but we do, a lot in Marin as well. A lot of listings. We have a lot of great listings coming. We love working with buyers, so it's really fun and fulfilling, as you know, to kind of see that home ownership come to life. It's one of the greatest parts of the job. I would say our niche is kind of preparing listings and making listings really look beautiful, really kind of shine in their best light, getting to the right people. That's my biggest passion: interior design, architecture, all of that. So
yeah, I've noticed in your like listing pictures and all that stuff that one, great, amazing properties you're listing, and two, they're always so well like staged and designed and put together that really like brings out the life of the home instead of it being kind of stale. How much of that are you directing? And how much?
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah. It's really important that if you have something that you're presenting to the market, that it's crisp and clean. And we have a process we call list, shine, sell. And so basically, just from beginning to end, whether it needs interior paint, exterior paint, flooring, repairs, plumbing, electrical, roof, whatever, we handle all of that. And then the final process is the staging and the photography. And so we really love our listings to just be pristine because it makes a huge difference when it comes to the sales price and desirability and getting people in the door and getting them to fall in love. It's kind of everything.
Yeah, especially, I work only with buyers, right? So it's really interesting because they have to have that kind of initial attraction to the house. They're looking at the listings online. They want to see the pictures. And a lot of times, I'll know the area or the house and I'm like, I know that one doesn't show up so great, but like go take an actual look at it because, and I hate that because they should feel like, they should be able to envision themselves in the home before they even step into it.
Yeah.
Right. So is that the kind of idea of this? That's the mindset you're putting the sellers into?
Totally. I always say this at every listing appointment. We want people to get in the door and you need to present it well online. That's the only way to get them there. And you want them to envision like their lives unfolding there. And when it feels dirty and dark and not, well taken care of, people, they don't envision that. They don't envision first birthdays or Christmas or anything. They kind of just start to spend money. Oh, I have to do paint and we'll have to do this. And that is not what you're going for when you're, thinking of buying or selling a home.
And also, oftentimes someone's home is their largest asset. And so, doing the things that we recommend costs money. And so trying to get sellers to understand that you're going to get well more than what you're putting into it out of it if you do this work. And if you don't do the work, you may be leaving money on the table.
Right.
So it's really in their best interest to do, everything they can do to have their home shine above everyone else's.
It makes sense. And so you're getting involved in the process early, right? You're not like, it's not like hey, we want to list on Monday, come sign an agreement. It's like we're working months in advance.
I mean, we can.
Right.
We can go as fast as we need to. But in an ideal situation, we would have kind of, we would be involved, from the very beginning to help them get where they need to be.
I guess, I'm kind of curious about if you have clients who've maybe bought a house a couple years ago, do they come back to you since you have this kind of like stylistic vision of what the house can be and say like, hey, if we were going to, change this house going forward, what should we do? Like, where should we focus our time, money, and attention? Does that happen?
All the time. Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got one recently where they were thinking of doing an addition off the back and if that would, get them more money or if they just finished the kitchen. I forget the exact situation, but it was, they wanted every piece of knowledge from us so that we could tell them what would be the best kind of value creating improvement.
I think that's like an underutilized like tool for homeowners, resources for homeowners.
Totally.
Like you know what the trends are, what's selling, what's, what buyers are looking for. If they're looking for, hey, if we're going to do these improvements, what should we do? Where should we focus our time? Like, I mean, obviously it needs to be meeting the needs of the owner.
Yes.
But it was like, hey, should we do like this kind of tile or this, like get some feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
We also have a list of all the people that they would need to do the work.
Right.
Not only, the interior design choices, but, we have the handymen and the contractors
trusted people
that we've worked with for, nearly 20 years that we can honestly say these guys are going to take great care of you and you're not going to pay an arm and a leg.
That's great. No, I think that's a really important, underutilized resource that for homeowners, like go back to your real estate professional. It's not a one-time, you helped us buy and now we're out of the picture. We're not going to talk to you again. Like be involved. We'll be here to help you and give you some advice along the way.
We talk about kind of our brand sometimes as being like a lifestyle brand. I mean, we help our clients all the time with the best preschools. Oh, where should we go on a date night? Or my in-laws are in town. Where should we take them? And we don't ever want that door to be closed. I think it's so important. We want them to see our lives, see our kids, see, our lives unfold, and we want to see their lives unfold.
Right.
It's really important, like for buyers, that we really care about, we're in the community, we're out and about, we maintain our relationship. So it's just super important for us that we help them find the right place, not just the easy place or the fast place. And a lot of times it takes a lot of time, but at the end of the day, it's more important to have the right choice than
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one thing I know about you and your brand creation is, I've seen your billboards and your advertisements and, see how you're presenting yourself through social media and everywhere else. And that like brand identity is kind of at the core of your business now, right? Yeah. How did you evolve to go like care so much about branding and creating the Sold by J&J, kind of persona of itself? Does that make sense? It's kind of like this, it's a third partner in your business in a way, right?
It kind of is, but I think it's easy because it's who we are at our core. So I think when we started collaborating on social media stuff, I had always felt that it was really important to be who I am in the world. I can't be anybody else. And we just kind of took it a step further and, just who are we? Excuse me.
That's okay.
Who are we as people, and what do we care about?
Right.
And let's just be authentic in who we are. And then it's just, people will see that. They'll resonate with it. They'll come to us. And the people who don't, there are other agents out there for them.
Right.
So
people will self-select out if they see who you are and you're being very clear, like, this is my belief system, this is how we behave, this is what we do. Yeah. And if that doesn't resonate with you, that's totally cool. There's an agent that will resonate with you, and go work with them. Because
it's a very personal experience to buy or sell a house. You're with these people intensely for these blocks of time. And so, we've all had transactions with people that we were just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this to end. Right. And that's like Jenny was saying, we'd rather spend time with our family or taking our dogs to the beach than doing that.
Yeah. And aesthetically, I think we had a vision when we partnered, and one of our goals was, if someone goes on social media, I'd want them to not have to look at who posted it. I want them to just know that this is sold by J&J, from the verbiage to, like I said, the aesthetic, but also kind of the message of how we are, how we present our properties, who we are as people. And again, real estate is so personal. You are spending a ton of time, and you want it to be with someone you trust and someone you feel like deeper than, oh, they sold 30 houses last year. Right. They closed 60 million and, whatever. You really want to feel like you know them. And I think a lot of people are missing that connection. And there's moments, we talked about this in a presentation we did, where people are going through divorce or death or financial hardships, and it is an excruciating time. And we want to be that person who's like, we've got this, we see you, we're good people. And I think that is kind of the basis of our brand.
Yeah, it all starts with connection, and when people feel connected, that's when you build trust, and then that's when people can be vulnerable with you about what they're going through, what they really need, and that's where we really feel like we can come in and hold our people and take the very best care of them, and 100%. It's just super important.
Yeah, I'm not a realtor. I actually passed the exam a long time ago and thought about doing it, and I was like, I just don't think I have the ability to do that. Anyway, bottom line is, I've always wondered if realtors, when they go into do a listing presentation, like, do they just jump right into the numbers and go, here's what we can sell your house for, or
they do, we don't.
Right. Or is the approach like, why are we selling this house? Like, what? I'm here and I understand that you want to sell, but like, give me the background story so that I can take care of you. Like you said, if there's going through a divorce or something, like, hey, we gotta make sure that we have a safe place for your kids, and let's pay attention to who's coming in and out of this house during this process, and isn't that the experience that everyone wants?
Yeah, I think so. And just kind of knowing what the motivation behind the move is.
Right.
Is it something that's, a fun, happy thing that they're wanting to do, or is it something that's being forced on them? Or so it's really important to kind of just, how we approach it is, we'll sit down and just really try to get to know what's going on, what's the situation, and just feel the people out. And obviously we're looking at the house and we're, taking in all those data points, but just kind of letting them lead the way.
Right. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that, like you said, it's a very emotional, personal experience, especially if you're selling a home that you love. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so let's approach people with a little bit more empathy and like understand their motivations, and then meet them where they are, and then be the experts that facilitate and takes care of business and negotiate on their behalf, and do all the hard work. But I think that there's a mistake that a lot of real estate professionals make, where it's just like, it's all about price. It's all about this. It's like, I mean, it can be, but I think for most people it's not.
Mm-hmm. And I think that comes kind of in a dual way where, yes, our goal is to get every single penny for our sellers every single time. But you can't get there unless they're starting to trust you, unless they feel that connection. Because then why would they trust you that you have to stage when we say we need to do that? Or you guys got to move out, we've got to paint, we've got to do new flooring. If they don't trust you and they don't feel like you inherently have their best interests at heart, you're not going to get to that point of getting to make them every penny. And so the trust, yes, it's an emotional thing, but it's also a logistical obstacle that once you've built that, you get to kind of overcome it a little bit easier.
Makes a lot of sense.
I mean, a lot of times we're asking people to spend a decent amount of money to get to where they need to go. So again, trust, building that trust, then we can really say, okay, now we've have that established. This is what you're going to do.
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. We've got it. We've got you covered. This is the timeline. This is what it looks like. This is,
So I imagine, I see all these like posts about, hey, triple diamond award, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I think that's like having the history and the data to say these clients listened to us, and because they did, this is what the benefit they realized, right? Like that's the validating your expertise, right? I think that's like secondary to the trust, establishing the trust. And then you have to validate like, hey, this is the case study of why we should do what we're going to do. And this is our track record of these people listening, and this is the result they got. These people didn't, and this is what they got. So which do you want to choose? Is that how that really goes in real life, or how do you present that information to them?
We have a pretty awesome presentation of it, of before and afters. And there was this awesome one in Bodega Bay where he said, do what you guys need to do. What can you get? And we said, we can list at 1.4. If you don't do anything, maybe 1.2. He did it all, and it truly is it's one of our favorite listings I think we've ever done. And he got 1.85, got $450,000 more. And he was so, just from the beginning, he was like, wow, they've got this. They're I don't know. I think we really have a good presentation with the statistics to back it up. And then we have a few where we've said, hey, this is what happens when you don't really do it, because, people coming to this market, they're from the East Bay, San Francisco, all of that. They have an aesthetic, and they have a kind of look that they're going for. And it takes time and it takes money, but a lot of people don't have the vision that they used to. And so you need to create that vision for them.
Right.
And that's kind of our...
Right. Creating that vision is really important, and like understanding the personality profile about like who are these people? More analytical. Who's the more analytical one? Who's the dreamer? Who's the one?
It's kind of generational too.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Some of our older clients, not all of them, people who sell a lot of real estate obviously know the value of staging and how it presents online. But I find that sometimes certain swaths of people aren't big believers in staging, and they really take a lot of convincing, and that's when we have to do a lot of hand-holding and showing tons of examples of this is what the house looked like before, this is what it looked like after, and this is the one on the market right now that's just empty and vacant. And, when you go in, it just makes a big difference. So, I think, that's...
Coming prepared to the market, pretty important. I think, especially with this there's more shifts. It seems like we're just kind of up and down. There was a buyer's market for a quick minute, and now it's more of a seller's market, and then rates have just gone back up again this week, and we're
don't tell us that.
pressing the sevens. It's crazy. And so now that's going to shift again, right? So this is this ebb and flow, and it's like you can't control all those things. What you can control is how do you stage, how do you present, what do you fix, what's your product, right? So, I guess transitioning to, speaking of the product, at a certain point, you as the advisors are the product that your clients are buying. And you said earlier that it's easy to create the brand because it's who you truly are. So how do you go about the process of taking that feeling and knowing who you are as a person and turning it into the actual brand of Sold by J&J?
So Jen, forever on her social media, on like her personal Facebook page, would post about elections, Bernie, global warming, LGBTQ plus, all of that. Very just from the beginning.
And thank you for that, by the way.
Yes, it's incredible. And there have been people in our career who have said, you're alienating a lot of people, by posting that way. And we're really strong believers.
That's okay.
Yeah, we're like, okay, we can alienate those people. But we feel that if you're not being yourself and you're not showing who you are, you're kind of alienating everyone because you're not giving anyone a chance to connect with you.
Right.
And so I feel like it's such a misconception. People want to just, hold their briefcase and be, this business person. And really, we're in a business that's not that. And if you're not showing people who you are, I think you're alienating a lot of people. So Jen had that. And when we partnered, I think we realized that we have a platform. Like we have a little bit of a platform to be who we are and to show what matters to us. And so our billboard is one of our favorite things.
Yeah, tell me. I know about it, but tell us about that.
It's on Bodega, and we've seen all the billboards in town, and this person has this listed, or, all these different statistics.
These people are the best.
Yeah,
Right.
all these different things. And for us, again, our brand is who we are and that we care. We're compassionate people. And so our billboard is really meant to be almost like a PSA to, spread kindness and advocacy. During the midterms, we posted one about voting and the things that meant a lot to us, like pro-choice and LGBTQ plus and equality and all of that. And we have gotten a vast amount of business from it. And then we also just get good energy from it. People will comment to us saying, "Oh, I get so excited when I drive by that. I feel good."
Right. Actually, I think I sent you a message about one of your boards. I was like, thank you so much for, it's an investment of your time and your money, right? Yeah. And you could be, hey, look at us. We sold all these houses. And here's a snapshot of the 50 houses we sold and whatever else. But you choose to put your money and resources behind these messages that are really meaningful. Yeah. And I think it's important that, you acknowledge that, it's okay if we don't get business. If you're going to choose to not work with me because I believe that women should have the right to choose to do with their body what they want to do with it, then we don't need to be, you don't need to be my client. That's fine.
Yeah,
exactly.
Fine.
You can't be everything to everyone.
Right.
So we really want to just be who we are to the people we love.
Yeah, it's really important.
That makes it worth it for
That's
us.
really cool. So that authenticity, showing up and just realizing and being okay with, if this means that someone chooses not to work with me, that's okay.
Yes.
Right? So
it's a hard place to get to, though, and we always do say this. Like when we did this presentation at our brokerage, someone asked, have you ever turned away business? And we have, for sure, but we didn't always. We weren't always at the point where we could do that, where now, Jen has 4 kids under her roof. I have 2 under mine, and I want to spend time with those babies. And if it means giving up a commission check, then that's going to be what it is, because also we're still getting so much wonderful business that fills us up and feels good to us. Jen always says we have to look ourselves in the mirror. We have to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror every morning and know that we're doing the right thing, and that matters to us more than the commission check.
Yeah, totally. That's a really hard lesson to learn. I'm still learning that one, I think. But it's true. I have 3 little ones at home, and I think I just posted the day, don't miss it.
Yeah.
This only happens once.
Totally.
And we have a 6-year-old, a 3.5-year-old, and a 17-month-old.
Yeah.
And it's this only happens one time.
Yeah. Totally.
And you just can't, there's nothing more important than that. No. You still have to do business, and you have to make money and provide and all that other stuff, but not at the expense of missing out on those moments. Right?
Yeah. If your heart isn't feeling good about it, then that's where we kind of draw the line, where we're like, okay, on to the next.
We're going to refer this person to somebody else, or release them back into the world.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that's amazing that you're able to understand and see this isn't worth it, right? And this is probably going to be a bad experience for them and for us.
Yeah.
So let's just avoid this altogether and just say, I think you're a better model match for this person. I'm happy to introduce you.
Yeah.
And I wish you luck.
And there's a business component to that too.
Right.
We don't want anyone having bad experiences with us. And so if we do feel like something is going to go awry or, not be pleasant, we don't really want our name affiliated with it, because, one bad client, tells 10 friends and then it spins out of control. And so we also are cognizant of that.
Very protective.
Yeah. If you were kind of starting over in the real estate business and you're advising someone who's just getting started, what would you suggest they do to start creating that personal brand of authenticity? I mean, besides being yourself, which is easy to say, I think hard to do, right?
It is, but we have a lot of new agents at our office, and they ask a lot, how did you guys get to where you are? How did you establish your brand? And it really comes down to being yourself, and it's simple and hard. But someone was saying, well, I give to this organization. I just started this month, and should I start publishing that on my social media? And our answer was, well, is it something that you truly deeply care about? Is it something that your friends would identify with about you? Or do you talk to your family about it? Or is it you're just doing it to get business, to look good in the community? And if that's the case, then no, don't do it.
Right.
Put your heart behind things that you're passionate about, that you truly care about. Don't be afraid to post something on social media about, I'm a big Bernie Sanders fan, and I just always put it out there. And I know that a lot of people didn't like him, and, we're in Petaluma, and there's a lot of rural people here, but just being true to who you are, and don't be afraid to be true to who you are online for fear of somebody not liking something that you're saying, because people will find something about you that they love and that they'll want to connect with you over, whether it's politics or
advocacy,
knitting, animal activism.
It doesn't
anything.
always have to be controversial.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it doesn't always have to be
Not at all.
about something that's going to be a sticking point or something that's, it just, you got to let people in somehow. And I think I always say to newer agents too, figure out your aesthetic. Like, figure out if you're going to make a social media post, because I do all of ours from scratch. Okay. So, and I love it. It's like therapeutic for me, and I really enjoy the design side of it. And I don't look at anyone else's stuff, because if I'm going to make a post, I want it to be natural for me. I don't want it to feel like something that's not. So if you can find your aesthetic and truly if someone walked into my house, they would say, oh yeah, this looks like Jenny's Instagram. Like, it's really who
your house looks like your Instagram.
It does.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to get over to my house to make my house look like our Instagram too.
Oh God. But yeah, so I think social media is a huge opportunity that a lot of agents aren't taking advantage of. I say all the time, yeah, you might not have buyers or sellers to post a just sold or just listed. Go on tour, take videos, take footage, go to a restaurant downtown and post about, like, you've got to stay in front of people, and you've got to find a way to connect.
Yeah, it's all about connection. And whether somebody sees something on I've gotten clients from, me posting that I'm a knitter. I'm an avid knitter.
Okay.
And I I knit too, and she called and they sold a house. Or somebody called us because, we have a tagline that we're nice people too. Or, just little things. And people really want to be able to connect with who they're working with, again, because it's such a personal thing that if they can get into who you are as a person, even just a little bit, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I think people having a certain comfort level with that. Like, some people don't want to post pictures of their kids. Totally get it.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's your boundary. That's neat. But there's got to be something in your life that's near and dear to you.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's important that you said it doesn't have to be something controversial. It doesn't have to be something that is going to piss off half the population. Yeah. That's okay. Like, that's the political world that we live in, that like 49 and 51.
Yeah.
Like, you're just bound to pick certain issues that people are divided on. Yeah. Shouldn't be that way, in my opinion, but that's okay. But that's the reality.
Yeah.
You pick something that, that you care about a lot, that you can give people a window into who you are besides the person who sells a lot of real estate, and then welcome them in and connect over that. Right?
Be vulnerable. Just be you.
We say, if someone goes on Yelp, there's about 5 of us that probably get the same calls for a lot of things.
Right.
So naturally they go to our websites, they look at everything, and they see that we all sell a lot of houses.
Right.
And so what is our kind of bait? Like,
why should they call you first?
Yeah. And one of them was because of our bio that says that we're progressive local women who, support LGBTQ plus and all these things. And she said, oh my gosh, that meant so much to me that I was going to feel safe having you guys come over. So again, when you're a newer agent, you don't have all of that stuff. So you need to find a way to get in the door.
Right.
And then show them really who you are. So being vulnerable, it's hard, but it's so important. And it's our biggest piece of advice.
I love that. Yeah, it's something that I work on kind of purposely. It's like, how do you, especially with like the training that men get, right? It's like, we're not taught to be vulnerable and to connect and be empathetic and that sort of thing. It's supposed to be like this competition and we're going to go and fight. It's like,
totally.
It doesn't have to be like that.
Just give me your tax returns, give me your numbers, and let's file this. And it's it's such a crazy moment. And speaking on the lender side, Jen and I always talk about getting pre-approved should be celebrated. Like, getting pre-approved to buy $1 million house is a big moment. And I feel like so many people just pass that moment by. You've worked really hard to get there.
Right.
You've saved a lot of money. You've made a lot of sacrifices. So I think also just, again, being human in that sense and not treating everything so transactionally and treating everything like it's a big deal, because in our business, it is all a big deal.
I think this is the one of the few industries where women really have an advantage over men when it comes to, I don't know, broad sweeping generalizations here, but just reading the room, you know, coming from a place of empathy and understanding, and, you know, let's figure what's going on first before we get into the, you know, numbers and the, you know, strategy and stuff like that.
I think you're right. I believe that to be true.
Yeah.
I think that it makes sense in a lot of ways with the way that, like, stereotypically, that the difference between the training that men get and women get, that it makes sense that we're connecting over things like sense of self and home and safety and, you know, tradition and all these things, that it would make sense that women would be the dominant force in the industry. But that hasn't always been that way. I mean, it's still a male-dominated industry, like finance and real estate overall is still male-dominated. I think that's changing. What do you think about that?
I don't think so.
No?
I mean, not in our market, but it's probably true across the United States for sure, but it feels like it's fertile ground to be the opposite, right?
Yeah.
I think things are changing for sure. But as long as I've been selling real estate, I've always felt like I've had every bit of opportunity as my male counterparts. Like we're jumping from the same platform.
Okay.
And how high I go is depending on me and my ability, not somebody saying or dictating this is only how high you can jump. It's all on me.
That's good. Yeah, that's great perspective. I think, you know, saying earlier, like, how do you show up? How do you connect with people authentically and so on? I think my experience is women are just better at that. And like, how do you capture that moment and put it on Instagram and write a caption that's going to get someone's attention and get them to go, I really like that. I feel connected to that person. I think that women in general are probably better at that, right? That's something that I know that I write the copy for our social and work on that. And it's a struggle. And oftentimes I'm going to my wife, Meg, and be like, hey, babe, rewrite this for me, right? Like, she's my AI tool, right? She's like, well, not artificial, but you get the point. She's the brains behind the operation and a lot of that stuff, because I'm like, I just don't know how to say it. How do I, like, this is the message, this is what I'm trying to say, but what are the words? She's like, okay, let's work through that. So.
And it's interesting because I think there also is a way to create your voice in real estate and through your verbiage or through your captions, and it can be without saying too much or saying too little. It can be a way that people start to resonate with you. Like in our captions, I always try to tell stories about the listing process or the buyers in a way.
You have great stories. Like, it's always like the click here to see more, and it goes on for like a whole page. But I'm going to read it because it's really great stuff.
Yeah, I think that again, it's about connecting with people and letting people see that if you're going to work with us, we are going to truly care. And it's not a just sold, 5 offers, 180 over ask. Call us if you have any questions. You know, it's working with a client who they were selling their parents' home and they had Alzheimer's, and my dad is Alzheimer's, and her and I are 40 years apart, this seller, and we were crying together our first meeting about our parents. And then she told us later that she loved our billboard, and it was such a thing for her to be feeling heard and taken care of and safe, and she felt safe with us. And so I think telling those stories, whether you're a great writer or not, getting it out there and letting people know that, you know, it's more than just the numbers.
That's amazing. I love that story, and I think it's really important to highlight, like, again, numbers are important, selling for the right price is important, being a great negotiator is important, but before you can even get to all that stuff, that connection, she's going to trust you, like, no matter what happens. If you had to tell her some bad, like, hey, guess what, we overshot this, we got to reprice, we got to change the price by $100,000 or whatever. Okay. Yeah. Because she knows that you've got her best interest in mind and that you're going to do the best for her, and she has that, like, baseline level of trust.
And we've put in the legwork. That's what we always say. We've done that up front so that it's not hard when obstacles come up. Right. Because they trust us.
That's great. Really love that. So what other advice, if any, do you have, like, in that creating that authentic voice and being outward with, like, who you are in the public, and if you're creating that from scratch, just understanding, like, what you truly believe in, picking a topic that you really care about, not something that you're kind of interested in, not something that you just started thinking about, but like something that you're really passionate about, and then that's kind of the focus of your online persona. What else what other advice do you have in creating that authenticity?
I think one thing we always say is, like you mentioned, no one-offs. Like, you can't just people. It's like, I really want to start a monthly newsletter. I really, really want to. I think it would be so fun, but I'm scared to be too busy and miss a month. And then suddenly it becomes this sort of chore and something. And it's the same thing with posting about stuff. You've got to really care, because the second you post about, Alzheimer's walk, and then you go radio silent on it for a year, and then people see through it.
Right.
So the no one-offs, I think, is a big...
Like being consistent with, like, do you have a calendar that you're like, hey, every X amount of days we're going to post, or just kind of whenever it comes to you?
I think we have enough business where we have enough content to post on a regular basis, so we haven't been at that point.
Yeah, I do try to, I have like reviews I try to do once a week and things like that, but on our personal pages, which are totally public, and I even tag them on our, business page, people have access to what we're posting all the time. So we definitely don't want to hide anything from them.
Yeah, I like that. Cool. Yeah. Just reading over our notes here about what we're going to talk about. Say everything paired with really hard work. I think that's like the missing piece here. Is it's great to have something you believe in. It's awesome to have a brand that you can have the right colors and the right, kind of like fonts and all that other stuff. Like, all that is very important. Creating the brand that's recognizable. If I see one of your posts, I know it's yours. I don't have to see it. You can hide the title. I can tell you exactly who it is. And there's a handful of other real estate professionals in the area that do a pretty good job at that. And I can say, I know this one's post. I know this one's post. I know I can tell what the style of photos you're taking. I identifiable. But pairing it with the hard work. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what does that look like when you're balancing 4 kids and 2 kids and all these other things that you're doing?
It's a lot. It's a balancing act. We've been doing it for a long time, so I think it's something that it comes a little easier for us. But just really, we have a shared calendar, and so everything that we're doing is on the shared calendar, and we're in communication several times every day, and so we kind of plan our weeks out that way.
It is funny though, because every one of our things, because we get so connected with our clients, all of our meetings end up going so long, because we're talking about, Jen's going to Paris and one of our sellers is from Paris, and so we're having tea and talking about this, and so there are some of those moments where we're like, oh no, we've got to go. We've got to wrap this up. But I think in real estate, hard work can also be done really smartly. I meet so many agents who I see, they're like, oh, I go to the office for 12 hours a day. And I am like, why? What are you doing at the office for 12 hours a day? Go out, go to the dog park, go meet people. Like, I think there's this misconception that sitting in front of your computer and scrolling MLS or whatever is going to translate into business. And if you don't have a lot of business, you need to find a way to get it.
Right.
And so we're big advocates. We have this beautiful office in Theater Square, and we go there often, but if we don't have to be there, we're not.
Yeah.
We want to be out and about, meeting people, picking up our kid, whatever it can be, because that's one of the beautiful things about real estate, is that no one can tell you that you have to be, somewhere. So
I think it also helps to be really efficient and juggle a lot. Having lists of people that we fall to, all of our vendors that we've worked with throughout the years. Everybody is really busy right now getting their houses ready for the market, and we have a few houses that are about to come on the market that all need various amounts of repairs, but painting and landscaping is always always needed for the most part, and staging. But our vendors kind of drop things for us, and they prioritize us, and so doing the work up front, having everything on a shared calendar for us, and we have calendars for our clients. We kind of build everything out ahead of time and get everybody lined up so that we can have a lot of flexibility and freedom in our schedule while still being incredibly busy. We're just organized and methodical about it.
So on a side note to that, it's really interesting because some of our sellers lately have been like, gosh, I've been trying to get a plumber. How did you get one here, yesterday? And I say this to new agents too. You have to be also just kind to everyone in this business, because everyone should be anyway, but you have to you have to treat everyone nicely because you need to build a nice team. And we have a team who genuinely loves working with us. We love working with them. They know we're honest and we're going to do the right thing. But even down to appraisers, I always say like, oh my gosh, we're always so, thank you so much for getting out there so quick if you need anything, because we want them to want to work with us, the next time and to come in at value.
Yep.
So I think it's just important to be kind, and it has really fed our business in a really beautiful way.
Especially with other agents too.
Oh,
I think that's super important. Something that we both have learned, over the years is that when a transaction goes sideways, it's typically because agents aren't behaving well. And if we can keep everybody cool and, on a positive note, then we can work through pretty much anything. But if people let their egos get in the way, I feel like that's when everything goes sideways and there's really not a whole lot you can do about it. So I think we work really hard at keeping everybody positive and communicating what's going on and trying to problem solve rather than flex our...
And if you're bringing the buyers to the table and there's two very similar offers and one agent is known to be the yeller and you were like, hey, let's just find a solution that we can all live with, and there's going to be problems that come up, and let's just have an honest conversation about it.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get that deal.
We choose agents that way. I mean, Yes.
Yeah. It matters.
Well, it's the feedback that you're giving to your sellers, right? Like, hey, this is your experience too, and this is the reputation that this person has, and let's choose wisely here.
And we have a fiduciary duty to our sellers to bring them an offer that is going to stick and is going to work, so they can make their next move. And so, if we're being negligent in that sense and not letting past experiences come into play, then that's not behooving anyone.
Yeah, makes total sense.
We always say we're just trying to get to the finish line together. Like that's the goal.
Everybody can win.
Everyone wants it to close, including our buyers and our sellers. And so more often than not, it's not that difficult.
And when everybody feels like they're getting what they need and winning, that's everybody's winning.
Yeah, for sure. I can say from our experience, we've worked together on a few deals on both sides, and it's always great. You guys are always like, we've had a couple deals, one recently that were like, there's a problem here. Just let's have a conversation and figure it out. And hey, I think we're like, hey, just give us to the end of the day, and I got to do some research. I got to have some conversations, but we'll sort it out. And sure enough, we did, and things work out.
And it's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine as long as everyone good news doesn't get better with time, or bad news doesn't get better with time. Right? Like share the bad news up front. Let's just call it out there, and then here's our plan to overcome that.
And trust that we all have, the same goal in
mind. We all want it to close. Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, I think I've learned a lot, and I really appreciate you being here and being honest and just sharing your story. And I think it's really amazing how you're addressing the market and being authentic. And I'm a big fan. And thanks for being on the show. And I'll make sure that we have links so people can see and follow you and connect with you. And if they have questions, they can reach out to you directly. And thank you really so much for being on the show, one, and two, for having that message out there and supporting those causes and being a voice for people and using the platform that you do have, because I think that you're influential people in the industry and in the community, and I think it's really, really cool that you're putting that out in front, and that is who you are, and not afraid to back Bernie.
Yeah,
awesome.
Love that.
Thank
cool.
you.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Stay up to date with Bay Area real estate. Hit subscribe now if you haven't already. Did you enjoy this episode? We love reviews in the Apple Podcasts app. We'll read yours on the show. This is By the Bay.
Lending Ear Media.